What if I told you that the world as you know it, the global order that has kept the peace since the end of the Second World War, just evaporated while you were sleeping? It didn't happen with a nuclear blast or a formal declaration of war. It happened with a signature. A single, cold, uncompromising order from the 47th President of the United States. Donald Trump didn't just ask for money this time. He didn't just send a bill to our allies in Brussels, and arguably far more reckless. He ordered the immediate withdrawal of 30,000 American troops from European soil. Not in stages, not over years, but now. This is Operation Bring Them Home, and it is the single greatest abandonment of our allies in the history of the Republic. For decades, we were told that NATO was a red line that no one, not even the most radical politician, would dare to cross. But Donald Trump isn't a politician. He's a man who views the world as a series of hostile takeovers. And tonight, he just took over the future of Europe and left it to burn in the shadows of a resurgent East. You have to wonder, sitting at home, watching the news cycle spin out of control, what is the real cost of America first? We've heard the rhetoric for years. We've heard the complaints about free riders and delinquent nations who don't pay their fair share for the umbrella of security we provide. But there's a massive difference between demanding a check and abandoning a post. By moving these troops, the very backbone of European defense, from Germany and Italy directly to the U.S.-Mexico border, Trump isn't just securing our frontiers. He is signaling to every dictator, every aggressor, and every adversary from Moscow to Tehran that the American shield is gone. He is telling the world that our promises have an expiration date, and that date was yesterday. Tucker Carlson, the man who has often stood by this president, now finds himself staring into an abyss of strategic insanity. This isn't just about money anymore. This is about the vacuum of power that is being created in real time. When you remove the guard from the gates, you don't just save on the guard's salary. You invite the wolves inside. And tonight, the wolves are watching. The friction in Washington is palpable. Behind closed doors, generals are whispering about mutiny, and diplomats are scouring the law books for any way to stop this imperial overreach. But Trump's logic is as simple as it is devastating. Why should an 18-year-old from Ohio risk his life for a border in Poland when our own border in Texas is wide open? It's a powerful argument, a seductive one, but it's a trap. It's a villain's logic that ignores the complexity of global stability for the sake of a viral soundbite. Think about the timing. We are in 2026, a year defined by economic fragility and rising tensions. To pull the plug now is like removing the foundation of a building while the storm is still raging. Trump knows exactly what he's doing. He thrives on this chaos. He wants the world to beg. He wants our allies to crawl. And he wants to prove that he is the only one with the courage to tear it all down. But what happens when the dust settles and we find ourselves alone? What happens when the Great Abandonment turns into a great isolation? The reaction from Europe has been one of pure, unadulterated panic. Leaders in Berlin and Paris aren't just angry. They are terrified. They are realizing, perhaps for the first time, that the man in the White House doesn't see them as partners, but as obstacles. They are calling it the Great Betrayal. And in many ways, they are right. You cannot spend 70 years building a house together and then set fire to the living room because you're tired of paying for the insurance. But Trump doesn't see it that way. To him, this is the ultimate art of the deal. He is using 30,000 human lives, American soldiers, as bargaining chips in a high-stakes game of geopolitical extortion. If Europe wants protection, they have to pay the $500 billion back rent he demanded last week. If they don't, they get the abandonment. It is a cold-blooded calculation that treats international law as a suggestion and long-standing alliances as a burden. As these troops begin their journey back across the Atlantic, the militarization of the American border is being framed as a homecoming. But don't be fooled. This isn't a return to normalcy. This is a pivot toward a new, more aggressive style of domestic control. By bringing the might of the U.S. military home to handle civilian issues, Trump is crossing a line that has stood for centuries. He is turning the gaze of the empire inward. The same soldiers who were trained to deter Russian aggression in the Baltic are now being told to patrol the Rio Grande. This is the villain's pivot, taking the tools of global defense and repurposing them for personal political victory. Carlson warns us, when a leader stops looking outward at the world's threats and starts looking inward at his own borders with the same military ferocity, the nature of the republic changes forever. We are no longer a beacon of hope. We are a fortress of fear. And what of Putin? What of the adversaries who have waited decades for this very moment? They don't need to fire a single shot. They just need to wait. Trump is giving them exactly what they wanted: a fractured West, a leaderless Europe, and a distracted America. He is handing over the keys to the Arctic, the Middle East, and Eastern Europe without a fight. Critics call it madness. Supporters call it strength. But history usually has a different word for leaders who abandon their friends to satisfy their ego. They call it hubris. And hubris always, without fail, leads to a fall. The $500 billion bill was just the opening act. The withdrawal is the climax. What comes next is the consequence. As the last American flag is lowered in Ramstein and the first barricade is raised in El Paso, we have to ask ourselves, are we actually safer, or have we just made ourselves a smaller target in a much bigger, much angrier world? Tucker Carlson sits at the desk, the light of the studio, reflecting the gravity of the situation. He isn't cheering. He isn't making excuses. He is exposing the mechanics of a disaster. He points to the maps. He points to the troop movements. And he points to the empty promises that have characterized this administration's foreign policy. The Great Abandonment is more than a headline. It is a shift in the tectonic plates of power. It is a declaration that the American century is over, not because we were defeated by an enemy, but because we chose to walk away. Trump's move is aggressive, it is deliberate, and it is undeniably villainous in its disregard for the human cost. He is gambling with the lives of millions for the sake of a headline. And as the planes touch down on American soil, the world watches in disbelief, wondering who is next on the list of those to be abandoned. In the end, this isn't just about NATO or troops or borders. It's about character. It's about what kind of nation we want to be. Do we want to be the country that stands by its word, or the country that sells its soul for a better deal? Trump has made his choice. He has chosen the path of the isolated strongman, the leader who values loyalty to his brand over loyalty to his allies. Operation Bring Them Home might sound like a victory to those who want to hide from the world, but in the long run, it is a surrender of our influence, a surrender of our moral authority, and a surrender of the very peace we fought so hard to win. Tucker Carlson's final warning tonight is simple. Watching this play out isn't just observation. It's a front row seat to the dismantling of the West. And once it's gone, no amount of money, not even $500 billion, can ever buy it back. The era of the Great Abandonment has begun, and the world will never be the same again.